Hey everybody! Welcome to the live stream. Almost didn't make it. You might have noticed there was a change in time. This is because I was running behind. Alright, so I'm going to give a few seconds for hop-ons and make sure that I have all of my materials ready to rock. Yeah. It's been a week, my friends. So first of all, just a little bit of a disclaimer. If this is your first time hopping on, my name is Shakti and welcome to my channel. My channel focuses on the conversation of health and sovereignty, as does all the work that I do. So I'm an online wellness coach. I talk a lot about fitness, a lot about food, mindset, things of that nature, a lot about business as well. Hi, Patty. Happy Friday. And lately I have decided to do this series of Fireside Friday chats that talks a lot about my experience and background in metaphysics, what I know about our real history, our real genealogy, our real galactic history, which is really exciting because today some of the things that I'm going to talk about this is front and center right now. It's one of the last things I'm going to close this with, and I'm so excited that it went public, and I'm so excited that we're going to talk about this because it pretty much proves that those of us who have been studying things like astral projection, law of attraction, manifestation, metaphysics in any way, shape, or form, we're right on target. And that's very, very exciting. So, saving the best for last. But I decided I was going to do this series which covers current events and what I call alternate news. I do not like the term conspiracy theory because even though a conspiracy it literally just means anything that's done in secrecy against a population or a group of people, which is exactly what we're smack in the middle of. We are literally living a conspiracy in our country and in the world, and it is coming to a head right now. And so I am going to address those things head on. And if this is your first time joining one of these videos, this is episode 31. There's a ton of other episodes where I started this way, way back when the whole virus hit the media and we had this pandemic. Okay, so start from there. Gainesville in the house. What's up, Victoria? Hey, Kobe. Okay, so that's just a little catch up of where we've been. Now, there's a lot to talk about week to week, and so what I choose to do to keep this under an hour more or less is to focus on things that I think are very, very important to look at because of how it connects all the puzzle pieces together. There's a few things I don't talk about on this channel because it will get my channel shut down, and there's a few words I won't say because they will cancel me out as well. So I have to spell things out sometimes or give you acronyms or whatever. So that's why I do that. What's up, King Joseph? Welcome to the live stream. Please share this out, tag your people. Huge shout out to the Patreon community. I just wanted to really, really express my gratitude to you guys because you guys are my patrons, I get to dedicate the time to do this, pay for the, platform to multicast and all of that. So I'm really, really grateful. The Patreon link down there is below. They get a lot of the clips I'm going to share in the slides tonight. I share the full videos, the full documents, the full links in there early. So all week long, they are getting the drops leading up to this call. So if you'd like to get full access to the links, first of all, if on my slides you can see where I got the information from, I won't be linking that underneath the video because you could see it in the video and you can go find it yourself. But those direct links do get sent to Patreon. And as well, my patrons get access to all of my slides after this. So you would be able to go through all the slides yourself and rewatch things in full because sometimes I don't get to play full video links. So loads of perks, as I also just started a podcast for patrons as well, which is really, really exciting. I'm trying to get the first episode out, but there will be like a live show, almost like a radio show that people can call into. Very, very cool features are coming for them. So just an FYI, if you're not in there, you want to be. And this week I also dropped a PayPal link because sometimes people want to donate, just want to give like a one-time donation, and I didn't have that in there. So now it is in there. So thank you so much if you are also giving a donation for this work, which comes every single week with a lot of focus. All right, let me get my screen up, make sure I'm on the proper screen before I share. We're going to get sassy tonight. Are you guys ready for this? This is a huge one. So exciting. All right. Can y'all see my screen? Fireside 31. You've been lied to about your origins. We're going to go there today. All right. So, this is the last thing we're going to go to. The origins of humanity. If you've been on my page before, you know I have told you that where you came from is not where they told you came from. And I've been right about that. I've also told you that who you are is not who you've been told you are. Hi, Ashley. That we are not like dense animal-like beings. We are actually far more than that, with a lot of capabilities that make us very attractive galactically. Human beings are unique in the galaxy in the way that we can use energy by way of thought and frequency. We are very unique. And we are highly coveted. So the whole trafficking that happens on this planet, which is now blowing up, we're going to talk about that too now. Hold on. The fact that this is coming to light, it's been there for a long time, but now people are talking about it in the mass media as well. The trafficking just doesn't happen on this planet. It's a galactic issue. Okay? Humans get trafficked galactically. This is a thing. And y'all, some of you are going to listen to this and be like, what? It's the truth, okay? And y'all not ready for that disclosure yet. We're baby stepping our way to disclosure. Aliens are just becoming like a thing, but there's way more to this, and it's very organized and it's very strategic. But just be prepared for that, because as soon as all of this disclosure happens, that I suspect will be happening soon, you're going to learn about this, and it's going to rock your world. So, all right, let's begin. So, last week, I talked about SJW, or the week before, I talked about SJW, I talked about the changing of language, which is a very typical social justice warrior thing, the changing the definition of words, the meaning of words, and this week, I found a thread on J.K. Rowling. Now, a lot of you might not know that there's massive drama happening with J.K. Rowling right now, but there is, because of some comments or a particular common thread where she was addressing the trans community and trans women versus cis women, and the distinction that she felt was an important distinction among the two. And tons of people on Twitter came out of the woodwork, like attacking her for being like, you know, you're not a trans ally, you are transphobic. I mean, they have accused her of so many things. It was crazy. So I watched this backlash happen online, and I was like, let me go find what they're talking about, because it really struck me as odd that J.K. Rowling would be accused of something. I was like, this seems strange, of this particular thing, knowing what I know of her up to date. So anyways, I went, I read, and then I began to understand what was happening. I began to understand that the same kind of language changes and the mob-like mentality and the bullying that we're seeing politically with the BLM movement, and whether or not you agree with them, support them, or whatever, is also happening in other areas. And I'm going to have it out with the BLM movement in a second, because again, as I have said and I have proven, because I showed you those videos last week of the leaders of that movement claiming that they do have an ideology, it's an organized ideology, and it's a Marxist ideology. And specifically, they said, we found a movement Black people could use. This is not a movement about Black people, and I'm going to prove it to you again in another interview that I found with Robert Steele, who is an ex-CIA. Next level, okay? It's not. It's a movement they found that they could use. Same with the trans movement, okay? And what makes me livid to my core is that these people have taken the real plights of the Black community and the real plights of the trans community, and they're freaking using it for an alternate reason, for a political agenda. And that makes my blood freaking boil. And when that comes to light and that gets proven to be 100% true, it will be too late, because there will be too many casualties, both in the trans community and in the Black community, that will have paid the price of their horrific lack of integrity. So I do not support that movement. I think it's a bullshit movement, and I think you are using the struggles of people, the very real struggles, against them. And God is watching. The universe is alert. The universe is alive. And energy comes and goes, and it brings retribution. There will be retribution for the misuse of that energy and that power. Mark my words. There will be retribution for that. We're going to get into that in a second. But anyways, once I realized what was actually happening, I found this article, which I thought was really well written. And I would like to read some of it. It was written by Andrew Doyle. The title being J.K. Rowling Roe shows how Britain is in the grip of a frightening new kind of religion that demands moral purity and permits no dissent. Okay? Sounds really similar to what I talked about last week, doesn't it? Every day there seems to be a new entry into the lexicon of social justice to add the already burgeoning list that includes no platforming, trigger warnings, hate speech, and cultural appropriation. One of the latest is the barb directed at author J.K. Rowling, who has been accused of being radicalized online. This alarmist phrase, previously associated with jihadi terrorists, brings to mind all manner of transgressions. Had she joined a fanatical death cult or endorsed a national policy of eugenics or embedded subliminal Nazi propaganda into her forthcoming new children's book? No. Rowling's so-called radicalization is her belief that there are biological differences between men and women. This is her quote. If sex isn't real, she had said, then there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives. We shall continue. Right here. Meaningfully discuss their lives. It isn't hate to speak the truth. The Harry Potter author has since been targeted with a torrent of vitriol, much of it aggressively misogynistic. The ferocity increased after she published a measured and compassionate 3,600 word blog. This is what I went back to and read, in which she fully explained her position. She wrote that her involvement in the trans debate had originated in her experience as a victim of domestic abuse, and that she was worried about the possibility that single-sex spaces for women might be compromised if a man can simply declare himself to be female. Whether one agrees with her or not, up here, or not, and millions do, it would be myopic not to accept that these are legitimate concerns. At the very least, we should be able to have an adult conversation. Unfortunately, prominent social justice activists have decreed that rational debate is a form of violence. The mantra that trans women are women has become a clarion call, echoed most shamefully by the three main stars of the Harry Potter movie franchise, Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint. Tragically, this is what happens when slogans are substituted for serious thought. For most people, the furor over Rowling's comments is inexplicable. It is only in recent months that the culture war has exploded into the mainstream media, and many of us are struggling to keep up. Why has declaring the truth become such a subversive act? How have we reached the point where artists and writers, the most outspoken members of society, are so often intimidated into silence? I'm trying to make sense of the Rowling controversy. It is important to realize that this is part of the broader problem of a new and pervasive ideology that promotes social justice, and which is a direct threat to freedom of speech and liberal values. It is perhaps best understood as a kind of religion. It demands moral purity and brooks no dissent. It seeks to control public discourse by deeming certain words and ideas problematic or supporting legislation against hate speech. It advances a modern-day equivalent of original sin in the form of concepts such as systemic racism, whiteness, or unconscious bias, unproven theories that are nonetheless asserted as truths. Although heretics are unlikely to be burned at the stake, its inquisitors are convinced that non-believers must convert for their own good. In other words, it empowers its disciples to feel a sense of righteousness even as they are engaging in the most unempathetic and cruel behavior. One of its weapons is something known as cancel culture, a system of public humiliation which frequently leads to the targets losing their means of income and becoming social pariahs. More often than not, those who are canceled feel obliged to issue a groveling apology, which rarely succeeds in placating the mob. Once they've tasted blood, the appetite is insatiable. The extent of the rage against Rowling can be partly explained by the fact that the social justice bullies have grown accustomed to getting their own way. They cannot comprehend the idea that one of their victims might refuse to apologize or to kowtow to their superior authority or retreat entirely from public life. So, why am I sharing that article? I'm sharing the article, I'm reading it, because of his framing of social justice mob-like behavior. 100%. He nailed the description of what is happening. This is not a agree with Rowling, disagree with Rowling. This is about a woman who made this statement, which I read and I thought was very compassionate and was very articulate. She's in general extremely articulate to share her perspective, in no way bashing trans women at all. On the opposite, she in fact calls the trans women population a vulnerable population, which she also deems deserves to be protected. But she does not feel that by negating their trans experience, they are being protected, which I totally see, okay? So, but that, and it doesn't even matter that other trans activists have come out to support her, which they have. So here we are in the middle of this mob that just declares perfect, like, loyalty, doesn't let you have a thought of your own, doesn't let you question, and threatens you with something like canceling you, which is the most, like, I don't even have words for how cowardly that behavior is. To not even be able to have a conversation that challenges you, that triggers you, and so you just have to move to canceling a person. What kind of a culture are we a part of? Like, who are we? This is an entitlement. This is not social justice. This is you being entitled to not being questioned, not knowing how to navigate contrast, having a different opinion, having an adult conversation. This is crazy, is what this is. And this is what's happening right now with the protests and people, anybody who says anything against it. Oh, well, you are the problem. You are the enemy. Anybody who questions anything about that, no thank you. The mob-like mentality has got to go. That is the pariah that we are currently facing right now in this nation. That's directly responsible for division, more so than ever. So, anyways, wanted to share that because he captured the definition of that so perfectly. I was like, I've got to read it because he nailed it. Okay, so the next piece is just a news article. I shared this on my social media as well about prioritizing job skills over college degrees in government hiring. And the reason I think this is such a significant power move is because if we're thinking of how do we get people more access, and that is what I think most of us want, we can agree on the fact that we want people to have more access. Think about the people that get to go to college. Going to college is a privilege. It's not just something that everybody gets to do. So by default, if you are prioritizing someone's degree over their ability to do a job well, you are prioritizing people who have access over people that don't have access to the same kind of education. Not taking into account the fact that the person who doesn't have a formal education could very well do that job better than the person who has a degree. Okay? So I'm championing for access, more access to more people. That's what I want. I want people to have more of an ability to do better for themselves and have more access in the world, no matter what their social economic status is, what their race is, or ethnicity is, or where they come from. So if this is about giving people an opportunity who have a skill set to have a job over someone who has a master's or a doctor or whatever, I think this is bold, and I think it's important. So that's why I shared this. Okay, so this is 2 examples of bullshit media titles and how desperate the liberal media is becoming to cover their tracks and create a narrative that isn't true. Okay, COVID outbreaks are being traced back to parties, not protests. Again, back to David Icke's original position on having a woke virus situation. Really, how would it know? How would it know where it's going? It knows when it's at a party, at a social gathering versus a protest. How is that how does it know? Because at both situations, you're all up in each other. I didn't see much social distancing happening in any of those protests. So I don't really know how that is supposed to how it would know the difference. And then you have the second example, which is equally as lame. Trump in fragile mood and may drop out of 2020 race if poll numbers don't improve. First of all, those poll numbers are fake, and y'all should know that, because in 2016, when this dude won, they were saying he was gonna lose, and then he won. So if y'all don't remember that, maybe go back to 2016, because those polls are made up and people are just throwing random numbers on a board. And what is this? What even is this? This is the lamest thing I've ever seen. Like, write a real news article. Can we just get journalists writing real news instead of this? Right? Clickbait bullshit. Everybody's sharing it then on the internet, acting like it's gospel. They haven't even read the dang article to begin with. Not that it would be worth reading, but really? Come on. Use your time better, journalists. Let's do it. Let's do a better job. Now, aside of crapping on the media, which is one of my favorite things to do, I'd like to crap on these two psychopaths for a second, because if y'all have not seen this video, this shit is gonna blow your mind, okay? As if we needed any more proof that these, I can't even say the names, are psychopaths. I probably didn't spell that right. And they are deliberately trying to kill mass amounts of humans with a bioweapon that they had a direct hand in making. This is the quote. The second wave will get their attention. And then they smiled like the psychopaths that they are. Thanks, Moondog Sykes, for that perfect screenshot. Let's all watch this video together, shall we? Please wait for the moment when they say that and smile.
And from there, you want to do tiering in various countries to make sure your most vulnerable populations get it. In our country, that would be Blacks and Native Americans, people with underlying health conditions, and the elderly. And so we need to look at, as a globe, and we're involved with many European leaders and African leaders and others in Southeast Asia, to make sure there's a purchasing fund that can pull that vaccine through when it's available and get it out in wide-scale distribution.
In fact, the testing could have been ramped up very quickly in a few countries that have almost avoided the epidemic entirely, like Taiwan, New Zealand, Australia. They took their experience and actually prepared, and so they moved a lot faster. So we, we'll have to prepare for the next one. That, I'd say is will get attention this time. This time.
I mean, come on. What? That's gonna get attention this time, and then they smile like creeps. What do they know that we don't know? What do they know that we don't know? I have been saying they ain't your friends. They're not here for your best interest. That thing they want to give you is not for your best interest. They saying to protect you. They're trying to wipe out the most endangered populations, or the most undesirable populations, because we all read that Margaret Sanger letter that she wrote about getting rid of undesirable populations. We all read it together. This dude's father is one of the prominent founders that funds Planned Parenthood. He funds Planned Parenthood. That was the beginning of their mission. Okay? So this is still a mission that he has. Do not get it twisted. This is a mission that he has. Get rid of undesirable populations. Vulnerable populations. Why? Because you're costly. If you're sick or you're old, you're expensive. Okay? Straight up. And if you're lower socioeconomic status or black, according to Margaret Sanger, then we don't want you. Because you're undesirable. That's what she wrote. Word for word. So here we are. They're repeating the exact same words that she wrote in that letter. And then smiling about the upcoming second wave. Like, if that doesn't creep you out, I don't know what will. That single-handedly was one of the creepiest things I've ever seen. I was like, what in the world? So here's why I think it's really important that we don't just dismiss that as just being a random thing that they said, because Elon Musk himself already knows. He 100% believes that this is being orchestrated, that the first round of this was a test. Listen to the very first words of his interview.
members, citing a Stanford University biology professor. One America's Christian Rose has more.
But this is just like kind of like a practice run for something that had a potential that might in the future have a serious, like a really high mortality rate.
Elon.
Y'all catch that? Y'all catch that? Y'all catch what he said? He said that this was a practice run for something in the future that could have a seriously high mortality rate. He just said that in an interview. Let's watch the rest of that.
Elon Musk is ramping up his criticism of the ongoing coronavirus scare in mainstream media, saying the virus isn't as deadly as previously thought. The CEO of Tesla and SpaceX took to Twitter Tuesday to draw attention to the high percentage of false positive tests that result in a likely inflation of COVID numbers. Shortly after, a Twitter user commented on Musk's statement, posting a video of Stanford professor Michael Levitt, to which Musk responded, "Levitt is right."
There was total panic, and the fact is that almost all the signs we were hearing, for example, from organizations like the World Health Organization, was wrong, and for political reasons, we as scientists let our views be corrupted.
In the past, Musk said the coronavirus panic could have been exaggerated to justify economic lockdowns of entire countries.
It's almost like people really wanted a panic. It's quite crazy.
Now he points to the latest COVID data that shows as little as 5% of false positives could inflate the number of COVID cases by a whopping 17 million. All these cases would be fake. The CDC says some of false positive tests happen because the patient already has antibodies and the immunity to COVID-19. But the agency doesn't say what the exact percentage of false positives has been so far.
We should have discussed this. Instead, we let economics and politics dedicate the science.
All the while, mainstream media and Democrat officials are sounding off about tens of thousands of potential new COVID cases emerging each day. Those same media harshly criticized Musk, accusing the man who just brought America back into space of ignorance, saying he's dangerously downplaying their views. And yet Musk reiterates the number of COVID deaths is much less than previously expected, citing Professor Levitt.
I am not against lockdown. I am against stupid lockdown without considering the full picture, i.e. not just combating a virus that is exactly as dangerous as flu, but also avoiding the economic damage that every country has caused itself except Sweden.
All the while, President Trump and top US officials say coronavirus death rate continues to decline by the day, while emerging new treatments are reducing risks to public health. But despite this, the political angle of COVID-19 remains a key issue in electoral debates and is expected to linger at least until November. Christian Rose, One American News.
All right, so what did we just learn? We just learned that Elon Musk is calling out his own echelon of humans, which is the elite, and he's saying legit that this is a sham, straight up. He's saying that this was planned. There's a second wave plan that's going to be even worse than the first one. We just saw that creepy ass video of the GATESs, okay, talking about the second wave. He's saying this as well, and then we have Dr. Levitt saying straight up that this is exactly as deadly as the flu and that this lockdown was unnecessary and it destroyed the economy of this country. He is agreeing, okay? So this is crazy. I never thought I would see Musk say anything like this, but there we have it. And on that same VIRUS theme, okay, I found this little handy video of the president of Ghana talking about this little article right here, which we're going to get into in a second. This was a Rockefeller Lockstep protocol that was written years ago about the situations they were planning on enacting as if it had already happened. Sounds an awful lot like what we're seeing right now. Let's give him a few minutes of a listen.
Lockstep 2010. Create a very contagious but super low mortality rate virus to fit the needed plan and they have SARS/HIV hybrid research strain. So you see, it is not a purely viral thing. It's a hybrid research strain created at Fort Detrick Class 4 lab from 2008 to 2013 as part of a research project to find out why coronavirus spread like wildfire in bats but have an extremely hard time infecting humans, hence the 4 HIV insects, also known as the missing key to infect the humans, ACE2 receptor in brackets. Create a weaponized version of the virus with a much higher mortality rate as a backup plan, ready to be released in phase 3, but only if needed. And they have, in brackets, SARS, HIV, MERS, Middle Eastern Respiratory Disease or something. A weaponized tri-braid strain created at Fort Detrick Class 4 lab in 2015. Okay? Transport the research strain to a different Class 4 lab, National Microbiology Lab in Winnipeg, Canada. And have it stolen.
Have it stolen?
And smuggled out by China.
Smuggled to China?
Wow. On purpose. And taken to China's only Class 4 laboratory, Wuhan Institute of Virology in Wuhan, China, for added plausible deniability and to help cement the wanted backup public script as something to fall back on if needed.
What?
Primary script being its natural, backup script being that China created.
Okay. Y'all heard what I heard, correct? He just told you how it was created, what was put into it to make it infectious amongst humans, because it wasn't, naturally, what lab it was made in, where it was transported to, how it was smuggled to China. Okay, WTF. WTF. Correct, because it does have HIV strain. He just said that. He just said that. He just said that. That's how they had to make it infectious amongst humans. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? Do you know that it is a felony to consciously infect someone with HIV in the United States of America? A felony. A felony. What happens when we discover that this was done at that kind of a level? What happens then? Okay? If y'all think this is crazy, here's the Lockstep report. Here's the website I got it from. Right here. So it couldn't get removed. Here it is. Here's the website. Scenarios for the future of technology and international development. There's the logo. Okay? Here are the steps. I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to read it to you now. Lockstep, a world of triggered top-down government control and more authoritarian leadership with limited innovation and growing citizen pushback. Hack attack, an economically unstable and shock-prone world in which governments weaken, criminals thrive, and dangerous innovations emerge. Clever Together, a world in which highly coordinated and successful strategies emerge for addressing both urgent and entrenched worldwide issues. Smart Scramble, an economically depressed world in which individuals and communities develop localized, makeshift solutions to a growing set of problems. This was the plan. Right here. You're looking at it. That was the plan. Okay? Now let's read a little bit. About the Lockstep. Okay? In 2012, the pandemic that the world has been anticipated of years finally hit. They're writing this as if it's already happened. Okay? This was the plan. Okay? Unlike 2009's H1N1, this new influenza strain originating from wild geese was extremely virulent and deadly. Even the most pandemic-prepared nations were quickly overwhelmed when the virus streaked around the world, infecting nearly 20% of the global population and killing 8 million in just 7 months, the majority of them healthy young adults. The pandemic also had a deadly effect on economics. International mobility of both people and goods screeched to a halt, debilitating industries like tourism and breaking global supply chains. Even locally, normally bustling shops and office buildings sat empty for months, devoid of both employees and customers. The pandemic blanketed the planet through disproportionate numbers died in Africa, Southeast Asia, and Central America, where the virus spread like wildfire in the absence of an official containment protocol. But even in developed countries, containment was a challenge. The United States' initial policy of strongly discouraging citizens from flying proved deadly in its leniency, accelerating the spread of the virus not just within the US, but across borders. However, a few countries did fare better, China in particular. The Chinese government's quick imposition and enforcement of mandatory quarantine for all citizens, as well as its instant and near hermetic sealing off of all borders, saved millions of lives, stopping the spread of the virus far earlier than in other countries and enabling a swifter post-pandemic recovery. Is this not creeping you the F out? Is this not creeping you out? What? And here's a video, okay? Here's a video, a 2014 video of someone reading this document, okay, and talking about how all of this shit was planned. And he predicted in the future what was going to come. Here's the video. Here's the title of it. That's where you can find it.
Will stop at nothing to complete their toolkit of control. Right? So one of the things that has been missing from the toolkit of total control has been quarantines and curfews.
2014.
Right? So now, welcome to the new world in America, where to get on a bus, to go through a subway station, if you think that the procedures at the TSA are onerous, right? Guess this is coming to a bus depot near you. It's a more invasive way, and the ruling class needs this because, let me say, if the ruling class ever saw wide-scale civil unrest, you'd see an Ebola outbreak in America right away.
Okay, so this is, what you see is that Ebola is
another tool in the toolbox of the ruling class
repression
control. Yeah,
to keep down
absolutely,
repression.
positively, 100%. This is a tool.
Right.
Ebola doesn't just magically start spreading, and then we have this doctors that come back here. The white people, of course, live. The two whites who got it survive. All the black people that get it die. No, it's very possible that these one of these NGOs over there is going around with a veil of Ebola or spreading it from a small plane onto villages. The point is to get hundreds of thousands of people infected with it and create the next phase of control. Now, one of the things I'd like to show to back up my claims here. Here's a document from the Rockefeller Foundation.
Same document I just showed you.
Foundation right there. You can zoom in on that where my finger is. It's called Scenarios for the Future International Development, the Rockefeller Foundation. All right? Okay, let's take a look at what they're saying here. This is something like a 50, 60-page document. I'd like you to go to page 18, if you can look at this up on the internet, but I'll read it off to you. It's called Lockstep. Lockstep. And this is a phrase that I used right after 2001 when I saw the entire system of the United States, including the population, were in lockstep. So the Congress went along, and yes, it was Osama bin Laden, and the people waved their flag and said, I hate, 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 and everything was in lockstep. Well, in 2010, they published this, Rockefeller Foundation, and here's what they're saying. They're saying that they call it a scenario. These are scenario narratives, and they speak about it in the past tense. So they put out this scenario, Lockstep. A world of tighter, top-down government control and more authoritarian leadership with limited innovation and growing citizen pushback. Okay, I'll read a little bit of it. In 2012, the pandemic that the world had been anticipating for years, nobody was anticipating a pandemic, finally hit. Unlike 2009's H1N1 This new influenza strain originated
Just
from
read
wild
that.
geese. They use some scenario, but this is Ebola they're talking
go
about.
ahead.
Even the most pandemic-prepared nations were quickly overwhelmed when the virus streaked around the world, infecting nearly 20% of the global population and killing 8 million in just 7 months. The majority of them healthy young adults. The pandemic also had a deadly effect on economies. You can see that agenda. Just naked, raw, naked control agenda written down, and it's anybody's guess how this becomes effectuated in real life.
And it's anybody's guess how this becomes effectuated in real life. This document was written in 2010, and it was predicted for 2012, except it's now 2020, and now is when it's happening. It's the same damn thing we are seeing happen right now, written word for word in that Lockstep passage that I read you and that he's reading you. And this aired in 2014. You guys, I have been saying that this is a plan, okay? This is the plan. Listen now, you have evidence upon evidence, and people are catching wind of this in other countries, like the president of Ghana. God bless that man. May he be protected. May he be watched over, because we saw what happened to the president of Burundi as soon as he opened his mouth and decided to tell everybody that the COVID tests were giving false positives on a dang papaya and a goat. His ass got a heart attack. God bless his soul. May he rest in peace. But he didn't really die of natural causes. I'm willing to put money on that. Let's continue with how all of this is a lie. First of all, y'all know the backs of masks has this disclaimer on it. Y'all seen this? This product is an ear loop mask. This product is not a respirator and will not provide any protection. Any protection against COVID-19 coronavirus or other viruses or containments. Any. Not a little, not some. Any. None. Y'all read that? Y'all reading the same thing I'm reading? Okay, for those of y'all that say, it might protect a little bit, it doesn't protect at all. That's what the box says. Okay? Now, look at this. Are cases spiking because they have changed the way they are calculated? Maggie Vandenberg. Well, let's see what she means by that, shall we?
New definitions for designating COVID-19 cases has been distributed by the Department of State Health Services in Texas. In this document, you'll see that we have current case definitions. And prior to the new case status definition, a person must have a positive result for COVID-19. So therefore, this is sort of the person with COVID-19. All these people are not marked as COVID-19. So this is one confirmed case. They do a new case definition where they include people with close contact or confirmed probable cases. And then you go down to sort of how they are defining probable cases. It can be people that are in close contact and have symptoms. So basically, there are now 15 different options for a person to be classified as a probable case. And the new probable case definition basically has this person as well as all of these other people. So total cases, 17. 1 confirmed, 16 probable. Are public health agencies deliberately manipulating data to inflate cases and cause hysteria? It sure seems that way. New definition. Interesting. So now they're not just counting the 1 confirmed case, they're counting all the possible cases of people that came in contact with that person as well. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. So here we are, all up in a whirlwind, spiked cases in Florida, spiked cases here. And could it possibly be that if you do the numbers this way, you're going to get a hell of a lot more cases than if you had done it the other way, right? This is the same like SJW stuff. It's like, let's just redefine what a case means so that we can get it to fit our narrative. Let's just redefine what racism means because then that will fit our narrative. Let's just redefine what this means because that will fit our narrative. This is super Orwellian. This is exactly what George Orwell talked about in 1984. It's like, let's just take words and make them mean something different so they don't mean what they originally meant. So now this thing that it means will mean something to like our favor. Oh, okay. I didn't think that's how language worked, but cool. Whatever. That's not creepy at all. Now,
this interview with Robert Steele, I love this man. I like this man so much. He's ex-CIA. He was a spy. He's in the no-no, okay? And the reason I like him so much is because, yes, he is supportive of the president. He also has criticism of the president, and his criticisms are right on point. They're the same criticisms I would hold. He's extremely wise. He knows what he's talking about in every way. Hey, what's up, man? Yes, lots going on. Yes, I am on. Best is for last, so stay tuned. So what I did here is I took very small clips of this very long interview, which I shared the full interview inside my Patreon. It's an interview that he did with Michelle Holliday, so you could look that up, I'm sure. It's also on Cosmic News on the website. But in this first video, and I put on the side what it's about, this clip talks about Homeland Security. Who created Homeland Security, and what is Homeland Security actually responsible for? And second of all, the criticisms on POTUS, which I find valid, and I think is his suggestions would make a world of a difference to his leadership, I think, and the support, people supporting him or not supporting him as a leader. Let me not have on.
Which called for a national police safety board that would be able to go into every event and then document it and then tell the public what actually happened. Today, what we have, anytime there's a police incident, we have a cover-up and we have lies and we don't know what actually happened. McKinney's letter also called for the demilitarization of the police and an end of foreign training for the police, which is code for stop the Zionists from training our police to treat us as cockroaches. Because when Chertoff, who was the top Zionist fixture in America, when Michael Chertoff created the Department of Homeland Security, he created it as an Israeli outpost in an occupied country.
What?
And the Department of Homeland Security has been sponsoring false flag events, including the Boston bombing, as a lockdown test to see if they could go door to door without warrants.
The fuck?
The Department of Homeland Security has been militarizing and desensitizing police. It used to be that being a policeman meant you were a community-oriented person, and you would take a bullet rather than risk a citizen being killed. That's not the case anymore. Now we're considered collateral damage. I think our president's going to win, but he's not going to win by a landslide on his present course. If he were to beat Joe Biden in picking a black female vice president of substance, and Cynthia McKinney is certainly that. Plus, she is from the state of Georgia, which is going to be the single most important swing state in this coming election. So in Georgia, you have two major blacks. You have Cynthia McKinney, you have Herman Cain. So imagine if Herman Cain became the chairman of the Trump campaign, okay? And Cynthia McKinney was the vice president. And then he did #unrigged to get the libertarians and independents and the #walkaways. And then he had a tough on Wall Street card, which would slam Elizabeth Warren into the wall. Now you're talking. $100 trillion is there to be taken back from Wall Street through confiscation. We don't need trials because it has been documented to be illicit wealth. So every mansion on the waterfront, every super yacht, every private airplane, all the art collections, all the stacks of gold and silver, we can do civil and criminal forfeiture, and Wall Street will not be able to delay that for decades, as they always do when you go to trial. It's a watertight thing. It's open and shut.
What? This guy is the bee's knees, and he just said what he said. And you're all about to learn a lot about Congress in the next couple minutes. But Homeland Security. Y'all know about this? Y'all know how they fund false flags? Yo. He just called it like it is. Straight up, right now. Let's carry on. There's more goodies in this bag. Okay. So, here is going to talk about the incidents where that building was burned in Minneapolis. That was a low-income housing building, huge building on fire, very prominent image. And the majority of the residents, if not all the residents that lived there, were low income. They were elderly black citizens, and they were devastated. They lost everything. It was so sad to see some of those interviews. It was absolutely heartbreaking to watch. Michelle Holliday brings this up as like first of all, AOC, which is, I think she represents Brooklyn, if I'm not mistaken. She's from New York. She is like what I call the millennial senator, or like the young senator, who is a Hispanic, fiery, like she's really front and center whenever you see someone talking about, I don't know, global warming or something. That's what I imagine I see her face. He flat out said in this interview that she was a hired waitress. That she was literally hired off the street as a waitress to be put in Senate. To fill the seat. Straight up. He called her out. This is an ex-CIA spy. Okay? It's not just a random human being who's just making audacious claims. Okay? He said that. Not in this interview, but he said that. Anyways. I already talked about how BLM is a Marxist organization, right? Y'all saw me share those videos before of them saying they were a Marxist organization out their mouths, right? Here we go. This is why BLM should not have anybody's support who has, like, the best interests at heart of its community and its country. This is why. Right here. Here we go.
Now, what that means is in this next election, the president has to win by the mother of all landslides. So there is no doubt, period. And that's not something Jared Kushner can deliver.
Right. Just touching real quick on this incident that happened, and the congratulations from the United States Congresswoman to the people that burned down that building. Is this not...
So AOC congratulated the protesters who burned down that building. Like, she actually publicly did that, which I think is so disgraceful. This is what Michelle is addressing.
The definition of a domestic enemy or domestic terrorism, because these people had nothing left, nothing. And they're crying, and the media doesn't cover it. Nope. No one does anything, and everybody just moves on with their lives. While these people, and you can see, people can go back and see the massive fire of that massive building in Minneapolis. That was a lower income housing building filled with older Black Americans who lost everything. Yep. And I just think people need to realize what just happened there. All in the name of Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter is not about Black people.
Oh, what?
I'd like to point out that the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People was created by the Zionists. What? And it was run by a Zionist person for the first 70 years of its existence. Black Lives Matter does not pay any attention to Planned Parenthood bringing abortion to blacks. It does not pay any attention to Bill Gates sterilizing Black women around the world. And it does not pay any attention to Black people killing Black people. Such as we just had in Chicago, where 107 people were wounded and about 16 people were killed, including a toddler. Black Lives Matter is never going to talk about that because they are a front for the deep state. All right, which is why I'm very frustrated. I went to a lot of trouble to get a Ben Garrison cartoon on all the Black leaders that the president should be talking to, and he's still not talking to them. I mean, he's surrounded by people who do not understand that blacks are going to determine who the next president is. Period.
Man. Did he just not say what I've been saying? He not just say what I've been saying? It's not about Black people. It is using that narrative for a political agenda. Out of his mouth. Okay? Out of his mouth. More proof. Because we need lots of proof. It needs to sink in now. Right? Okay. Now, here's where it gets real intense. Because he's about to tell you something about the VIRUS you have not heard. Okay? Pay close attention. He is flat out saying it is not a VIRUS.
We're going to be watching you very carefully on this situation. I want to go back to the president last rally, Robert. We talked about it briefly, about his election, what's happening with his campaign director. How is it that now it turned out well? He had a huge showing. I believe it was record on Fox because they televised it.
The upper bleacher seats were not filled, and 2/3 of the floor was not filled. Basically, Brad Parscale and the campaign, including Kushner, who thinks he's the little prince, they were sandbagged. What happened was that they announced 19,000 tickets. They got probably 300,000 reservations, not realizing that 4 to 5/5 of those reservations were from Democratic Committee trolls, which means that they only confirmed a fraction of the reservations for legitimate Trump supporters. And then when all the other people didn't show up, it makes the president look bad. He has a right to be furious. The other thing that happened was Tulsa, Oklahoma turned out to be enemy territory. Because the state and local government was not as friendly to the president as he was anticipating. And so the state and local government went with all these virus fears. It's now known that it's not a...
Oh, I paused it right when it was getting good. Sorry, guys. I was trying to zoom in for you.
Got probably 300,000 reservations, not realizing that 4 to 5/5 of those reservations were from Democratic Committee trolls, which means that they only confirmed a fraction of the reservations for legitimate Trump supporters. And then when all the other people didn't show up, it makes the president look bad. He has a right to be furious. The other thing that happened was Tulsa, Oklahoma turned out to be enemy territory.
Enemy territory.
Because the state and local government was not as friendly to the president as he was anticipating. And so the state and local government went with all these virus fears. It's now known that it's not a virus, it's a poison.
What?
And in fact, people present at the worst case level as if they're suffering from cyanide poisoning.
What?
And a $10 anti-cyanide treatment takes care of it, whereas ventilators kill you. But the hospitals get 5 times more money if they kill you on a ventilator than if they give you a $10 anti-cyanide treatment. So the whole...
I'm sorry. Y'all just heard what I heard? Y'all just heard what I heard? He just said it is not a virus, it is a poison. And you present as if you had cyanide poisoning. Any $10 cyanide medication will take care of it. But they don't make any money off of that. This is a dude from the CIA. Let me repeat this over and over again. You are not talking about a random human being who has a random opinion about this. Okay? This is a big freaking deal. He just said that. Bananas. Absolutely crazy. Now, the next part of this video is really important because here's what I want you to understand. POTUS was not the candidate that either side wanted. Okay? Republicans or Democrats. They're trying to sabotage him on purpose. And it's very important that we start to wonder why. It's easy to assume, well, it's because he's a blank and a blank. But is that really why? Okay, because since when the fuck do these people give a damn about having a good person as president? Let's be honest. When does Congress ever give a damn about that? Newsflash, they don't. The reason they hate him is because he is not playing their game. If he was a narcissistic bastard who didn't call them out on their bullshit and let them keep their illicit money, let them continue to traffic children, let them continue to harvest humans and sell out the U.S. to the global agenda, they would be praising his ass. Okay? I'm calling it like it is. I'm calling it like it is. If the president was not calling them on their shit and letting them play their still little corrupt game, they would be talking about this is the best president we ain't ever had. Okay? Best. Congress is full of shitheads. Okay? And instead of pointing all of your attention on the guy who's only been in an office of power for 3 years, maybe pay attention to Nancy Pelosi, who's been in the goddamn position she's in for like 46 years and done shit with it. Biden, the same thing. Nearly 50 years in that dang position and done nothing for the betterment of humanity. Wasting everybody's goddamn time pushing papers. By the way, Biden wrote the crime bill in case you wanted to really know who is discriminating against the black community or people of color.
To our country. It does not belong to these bankers who stole it. They out and out stole it.
I agree with you, Michelle. And let me point out that the president's 4th of July speech is coming up. I don't think that speech is going to include all of the things that it could. If the president had taken the opportunity to consult McKinney and Wes Christian, myself, and Dan Schultz, who understands the GOP, blocking 50% of the seats from the president. Then his 4th of July speech would include the announcement of the hashtag unrigged election reform. It would include a call to all pro-Trump people to go and demand to fill the 50% of the vacant seats in the GOP precinct committees. Romney at the GOP is stabbing the president in the back. She has ordered that Trump supporters not be admitted to the GOP precinct levels, even though the seats are vacant. Right? The GOP is trying to ride out President Trump.
Yep.
And both the GOP and the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, in my view, are basically betraying their own constituents.
Yep.
By saying on the Democratic side, they say, we make more money with Trump in power, so we're not going to be serious about winning the presidential election. The GOP is saying, we're going to ride the president out so we can then go back to business as usual.
Yep. Okay. So let's call a spade, shall we? Because here's when you're going to realize why Congress is who Congress is, okay? They are highly efficient criminals that have literally gotten away with murder, money laundering, trafficking, and all kinds of shit that no one has ever stopped them. This is why they want Barr gone. Attorney General Barr is not playing any games. He's calling people out. He's taking them to court. He is prosecuting, okay? He's not playing games. So they're trying to take Barr out because they don't want Barr to look at them, okay? That's why they want Trump gone too. It's not about ethics or morale. They don't want a better president. They don't want him out because he's a dick. He might be, but they just don't want to be caught. They don't want to be caught. That's why they're doing it.
And which refuses to collaborate with the Department of Justice or the FBI. And they're getting away with it because Congress has been bought and paid for. After Abscam, Congress shut down the ability of the FBI to investigate members of Congress for bribery and blackmail and treason. That needs to be fixed. The third source, and most people don't know this exists, are all of the lawsuits that have been developed by John Quinn before he was murdered, and there's no statute of limitations on murder. And Wes Christian, whom I was hoping you would interview at some point. Wes has over 300 documented cases of naked short selling that have yet.
So what is Abscam? I got it up here for y'all. Let's read a little bit about what it is. Abscam, sometimes written Abscam, capital letters, was a Federal Bureau of Investigation sting operation in the late 70s and early 80s that led to the conviction of 7 members of the U.S. Congress, among others. The 2-year investigation initially targeted trafficking in stolen property and corruption of prominent businessmen, but later evolved into a public corruption investigation. The FBI was aided by the Justice Department and a convicted con man in videotaping politicians accepting bribes from a fictitious Arabian company in return for various political favors. So what he said was after Abscam, after this, the FBI lost the ability to investigate Congress. Do you know what that means? That Congress has literally been doing whatever the fuck it wants for an extended period of time. Money laundering, illicit trades, deals, all of it. Getting crazy rich, doing nothing for the rest of its population and its citizens, and could not be touched by the FBI. Okay? That's Congress. So while all y'all distracted about Trump and hating his ass, y'all missing the fact that all of your Congress supposed to be representing you is playing games and wasting time. Straight up. Okay? Calling their asses too. Y'all gonna get caught. All of you. Hope you go to jail. Capital punishment is back. Don't play games with Barr. He's gonna send y'all to the guillotine. Metaphorically speaking. Now, let's get into some hot news off the press. Should have been wearing my Epstein mask on this video. Because who got caught but Ghislaine Maxwell? Goodbye, biatch. Ghislaine Maxwell, which was the lover of Epstein and the procurer of young children, not just young girls like the Netflix documentary, which was a lame-ass documentary, wants you to believe. He wasn't just messing around with 17, 16-year-olds. We're talking about little freaking children. Babies, in fact. That's going to come out, but that's later. Y'all ain't ready for that yet. But it's going to come to the forefront, and other people are going to come to the forefront about that too. But anyways, I made this link too. Thank you, Jordan Sather, because I made the same connection. What a coincidence that as soon as they got the Southern District Attorney of New York out of there, Berman, which I talked about last week, they find Ghislaine Maxwell in a week. What a dang coincidence. If that's not the craziest coincidence I've ever heard of. Right? So strange. She's been on the run forever, and they just found her, coincidentally, after they removed that guy from being Attorney General of New York, Southern District. Fascinating. So, this right here had me cracking up. Ghislaine Maxwell arrested definitely provides more context for why the swamp is trying to impeach AG Barr. They're all implicated in crimes at Epstein Island. And this was a gif of Barr drinking water and just shrugging, and I thought it was hilarious, so I wanted to share there. But anyways, let's look at some of the charges against Ghislaine, shall we? Let's look at some of these charges. Okay? The grand jury further charges transportation of a minor with the intent to engage in criminal sexual activity. Okay. Next one. Count 5. Perjury. The allegations contained in paragraph 1 through 8 of this indictment are repeated and realleged as if fully set forth within. In the Southern District of New York. Okay? The reason they needed to get that guy's ass out was because they needed to incriminate her and bring charges to her in that specific district. Because again, I told you last week, that was the guy who had all the dirt on Epstein. All the files on Epstein were there. Okay? So this next slide just proves that this is a court case against her, United States of America v. Ghislaine Maxwell. These are her charges. She has a ton. Just wanted to share some of them publicly. Okay? So, basically the Epstein case is coming back to the forefront, and this is specifically important because if she sings, which sounds like she is, I just got a notification right now from the Epic Times, if she starts singing Name of Names, you're about to see an entire echelon of human beings get taken out systematically removed. We're talking about past presidents, past people who ran for president, past people who were vice presidents, past people who are Congress, Hollywood. You about to see some crazy stuff go down right now with her opening her mouth and giving names, okay? Plus, I'm praying they open up the Epstein files again and it all comes to the forefront because what happened on that island is insane and disturbing and gross, and it all needs to be exposed. That documentary that they did on Epstein didn't even touch the tip of the iceberg on that guy's life. But it's coming to the forefront. That's why this is important. Now, to close with the very best of things. So exciting, okay? The metaphysical nerd in me is pumped about these next slides. Okay. Now, this dude right here, or a woman, I don't know who she is, that's the handle. Hidden manuscripts in the Vatican that reveal the human being has supernatural power. The divine matrix is a kind of electrical network, or rather a kind of quantum mesh that connects our entire universe, and which in turn is made up of a network of many of these filaments, synapses that are also present in our brain. In 1944, Max Planck, the father of quantum theory, stunned the world when he said that all things are pure energy, and so are we. Everything is simply energy, according to researcher Greg Braden, who has dedicated more than 20 years of research to this type of study. Recent discoveries include evidence that the Planck matrix really exists and that it is the divine matrix. Planck said this matrix originates from stars, rocks, DNA, life, and everything that exists. This powerful energy appears to be a dense network of connecting all matter, while we basically influence this network through our vibrations. Experiments have discovered that the highest frequencies of energies are those of love, and that they have an impact on the environment. We have always heard of the power that we possess, mainly through the Bible, but that information has never been made public, since it is a power that is part of human beings. But it was abolished by the church hidden by the church to make us weak and malleable. What? This should blow everybody's brain. Number one, because I've said the Vatican has stolen sacred documents that prove the true origins of who we are, and they're hiding it because they don't want anybody to know who human beings actually are. And this pretty much blows the spot on that. But the reason this is even more significant is for the very next slides I'm going to show you, which prove that the CIA of the United States of America recently declassified documents proving that this shit is true. The CIA. And it went disclosed so silently, nobody even talked about it. And I'm about to read you some passages from that disclosure because it is mind-blowing. Okay? So here is a tweet. Right here. Jocelyn Springer. The CIA literally released documents sharing that you can expand your consciousness, supporting that the law of attraction is real, and that we humans are living in an energy hologram, and that we are in fact energy holograms. Here's one of the images from that document. Be prepared to have your brains exploded. Here are some passages worthy of noting. Let's go. The consciousness matrix. The universe is composed of interacting energy fields, some at rest and some in motion. It is, in and of itself, one gigantic hologram of unbelievable complexity. And just to prove to you I'm not full of shit, came from the CIA. There's a screenshot. Okay? Next paragraph. Problem solving. This technique involves identifying fundamental problems which the individual wishes to see solved, filling his expanded awareness with his perception of these problems, and then projecting them out into the universe. In this way, the individual enlists the assistance of what Monroe Institute calls his higher self. In other words, his expanded consciousness, to interact with the universal hologram to obtain the information required to solve the problem. This approach may be used to solve personal difficulties, technical problems in the realms of physics, mathematics, etc., practical administrative problems, and so on. Responses to the problem-solving technique may be received almost immediately, but often they come based on developing intuition over the next 2 or 3 days. Frequently, the response comes in the form of a sudden, holistic perception in which the individual suddenly finds that he simply knows the answer in all of its ramifications and completely in context, sometimes without even being able to put his newly found perception into words, at least initially. In some cases, the response may even arrive in the form of visual symbols, which the individual will see with his mind while he is in the focused 12 state, and which he will have to interpret after he returns to normal consciousness. Okay? Okay? Y'all reading what I'm reading? Again, CIA.gov. I ain't making this up. Here's where it gets real trippy times 10. Y'all ready? Focus 15. Travel into the past or the future. The out-of-body movement. Yo. The CIA just published documents on light language, astral projection, time travel, fucking law of attraction, and energy holograms. Do y'all understand what this means? This means any bitch, including myself, that's been talking about this for the past decade and some, is right. Okay? This should make your brain explode. 1,000% should make your brain explode right now. This is crazy. This is a CIA document. Okay? This is the stuff they've been hiding. This is the stuff they've been keeping from you so you don't know who you are and what you're capable of. This is the stuff they didn't want normal people to know was real. They didn't want you to know this. They want you to think this was hokey. And anybody who was into metaphysics was equivalent to the New Age, which, by the way, no. The New Age is an inversion of true metaphysics. The New Age was created to mock true metaphysics, the truth of who we are as spiritual beings, so that people would not believe it, so that people would not buy into their power, so people would stay disempowered beings. Okay? You guys, your pineal gland is a powerful seat of energy conduction. Law of attraction is real. Manifestation is legitimate. Out-of-body experiences, you are more than your body. You are an astral body. You are an energy body. You are energy. The matrix is real. We are interacting with the matrix. That's what an energy hologram explains. And you can go beyond that by using your consciousness. This isn't a freaking CIA document. Okay? That's what I want to close with. Because, damn, it feels good to be right. Feels good to be right about this. Yes, it does. After being called crazy by people for so long, I'm like, booyah, dropping the mic, walking away. Okay? So, that being said, please take into consideration that if a number of psychics like myself and a number of intuitives who have been doing this work for a long time are telling you that this is happening on the planet and this is a trajectory, then it's probably true. Because so many of us cannot be wrong all at once. It doesn't make any sense. A lot of the intuitives, the best intuitives I follow, are actually very supportive of POTUS despite his flaws, human flaws, which he has. Not the best decision making. Because they see the alternate route. They see the alternate route to this country. And the alternate route to this country is a problem. A big problem. So, I'm just saying, the positions on these movements, the positions on the VRUS that's not a VRUS, the positions on POTUS, the positions on our genealogy, our real history, there's a lot of us saying the exact same thing. Can't be a dang coincidence, is all I'm going to finish with. This cannot be a dang coincidence, okay? So, please dig into these documents, do more research. I've showed you the links and the handles of all these people so you can go find them yourself. That Robert Steele interview, I do have the link for, and I will be linking in the bottom of the video. If you're a member of Patreon community, it's already in there for you to watch. This is big stuff, you guys. And more of this stuff is coming public week to week. I'm doing my best to keep up with it. It is a lot of work. So please be patient if I'm struggling or late or haven't compiled all the information or can't share all of the videos. This week I got through all the videos, but sometimes I can't because it is a lot of information. I'm doing my best to make this a holistic experience that flows and makes sense. Also, keep your eyes on Ghislaine because I can pretty much guarantee she's going to open her big mouth, and we are about to see crazy stuff happen right now in public, okay? Yes, galactic language, intergalactic council, light language, ascension, the vortex, all of that is real. All of that is real. All of that is real, okay? All right, my friends. So I love you so much. Thanks for hanging with me. I will see you next week. And coming into Patreon, join us. Get all the slides for yourself in real time and all the extra information. And thank you again to all my patrons. I love you so much. And I will keep you posted on the upcoming podcast. All right. Bye, y'all.